Hello everyone, welcome to your team news ahead of Gameweek 35. My name is Az and I am joined by Neale Rigg. How are you, Neale? I missed you last week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because obviously you were off ill. Glad to hear you better now. But yes, we couldn't do a team news video last week, but here we are. As risen Mina Raiola, like from
I
from
know.
his bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
No tweets about me on my deathbed. Luckily enough, very strange all those stories yesterday. Yep, I am feeling better. I was feeling rough yesterday, but today did the Q&A with Jenny. It's got to 3:00 and I haven't had a nap yet, so I'm doing better than most
Progress.
days this week. Progress. Yeah, exactly. And we've got lots to talk about. We've got another game week. We've got the last normal game week of the season before the doubles start here, and then the carnage of 38. So let's get straight into it with our first game tomorrow, which is Newcastle. You talk about rising from the dead. Newcastle, absolutely amazing at the moment, especially at home, and they're playing Liverpool. Interesting game, this.
It is indeed. Yeah, it's our home record has been pretty good for most of the calendar year. I think Man City were the last team to beat us, and I believe that was around about Christmas time. So we've been both picking up results and defensively quite solid at the back. So this is quite a stern test for Liverpool, I think. Now, we haven't played many teams like Liverpool in quite some time. We got battered by Spurs in the one tough match that we've had really recently. But so yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But it is a quick turnaround for Liverpool, especially. It's a Wednesday, Saturday lunchtime, and then Tuesday turnaround because of the Champions League. And these are the games where you have a bit of a red flag over rotation. However, obviously, as I mentioned in the team news tab, that a mere draw, even loss of 2 points, would be fairly catastrophic at this stage for Liverpool in a title push. And they do have the luxury of making 5 subs in the Champions League, of course, on Tuesday as well. They get the extra 2 changes, and they are 2-0 up. So if they do get to a point, maybe after like sort of 60 minutes on Tuesday, where they are comfortably ahead on aggregate, then Klopp has the option to rest players then. Of course, there might be 1 or 2 changes this weekend. I think you'll see the likes of Jota come back in, Matip as well, Naby Keita, for example. But segueing straight into the team news, Roberto Firmino is the only definite absentee, so that lessens the number of options available to Klopp up top. Of course, he's got Origi. Of course, he's got Minamino. And we saw Origi coming off the bench last weekend, but probably the strong money would be on Salamane Jota, you would think, perhaps. Certainly Jota coming back in after his midweek breather. But yeah, team news-wise, Firmino is the only one definitely out. Liverpool's been hit by some diarrhea. So they've had Tsimikas and Curtis Jones out. Yeah, Tsimikas is back. Curtis Jones still couldn't train yesterday. I think we can all empathise there when you can't get up off your seat. And so yeah, it remains to be seen if he's in training today and they can feature. But Fabinho is the only red flag.
It's funny, sometimes we get like very vague team news, like knocks and niggles or not quite sure. Then Klopp just like, yeah, they got diarrhea.
Yeah.
Too much TMI, if anything. And how about Newcastle?
Yeah, Newcastle, as you were, really. So Wilson and Trippier and Fraser are all out. Fraser race against time before the end of the season. Wilson and Trippier are closer. Trippier especially. I think Trippier's even joined in training, full training, but he's only had 1 session. So Eddie Howe thinks they are not going to make this one. But just those 3.
Okay. Moving over to Villa. Lots of investment in their players at the moment. Obviously, they've got a good home game against Norwich and then back-to-back double game weeks before finishing up with a horrible game week against City in the final week.
Yeah.
Likes of Coutinho, Watkins, Cash, all these guys being bought. Anything anyone needs to know, or are they pretty much good to go?
Yeah, not by the sounds of Gerrard's presser. We know that Luca Dini's facing a battle just to get back for Gameweek 38, so I'm certainly not expecting him back for this one. Sanson and Courtney House are still out, and they've got Bertrand and Traore coming back, but all of these players are very much sort of fringe options, and the big names you mentioned there weren't mentioned in Gerrard's presser.
Yep. And Norwich, sorry Norwich fans, but not a huge amount of investment in your players, but anything we need to know from them?
No, we've only got another 4 of these before they bow out to the Championship, almost certainly. Yeah, they've still got a few names out, a few of them who are out for the rest of the season as well. Omar Bamadeli, Adam Ida, and Ozan Kabak, they're all out for the season. Josh Sargent's back. He is expected to feature if he comes through training. Same with Lucas Rupp. He's back in training as well. And I think that is it.
Yep.
Norwich.
Dean Smith to cause a surprise upset and annoy all the Villa owners, new Villa player owners.
Yeah, he got something to prove, I guess, in a sense. Whether his players still share that same conviction that they can get out of this. I mean, even Smith said this morning that while it's still mathematically possible, we're going to try. So he sounded very defeatist in just that sentence. You know, he's already pretty much acknowledging that they're down. And I think we could actually go down this weekend, I believe. I think if results go the right way, Burnley have got to win, of course. But yeah, I could see them putting on a bit of an initial fight. But last weekend was the killer blow. I thought they'd get something from the Newcastle game coming off the back of our busy week, but they just capitulated, and they had to win that really to have any chance. They have got another injury, I've just remembered. It's Zimmerman, the centre half. He's almost certainly out of this one as well.
Yep. Nice. Southampton Palace next. Southampton making changes sort of week on week. I've got Adams and the Broyer owners never know where he's going to start and all that. But they've had a very significant injury to a young player, which is horrible, right?
Yeah, sad end to the fairy tale FPL story of Tino Livramento, who is out not just for this season, but for the rest of 2022 as well. So I'm not expecting him back till midway through next campaign, maybe after the World Cup even. So he's got an ACL injury, which, as we know from past experience, that's like a 9-monther, around about that time anyway. So, yeah, his campaign is done. Other than that, though, Southampton are, as far as we're aware, and bearing in mind this press conference was yesterday, they are fully fit. And as you say there, it's just now it's the rotation issue, because he will start, because they're comfortably mid-table, now to play for, and we've already seen it last week with the likes of Shane Long coming in. There'll be some rotation, I'm sure, between now and the end of the season. Yep.
And Palace is our favourite player. I think he's the only one that's out, right?
Precisely that, yeah. Nathan Ferguson is still out, unsurprisingly. And, Vieira said everyone's back in training. So that includes Tyreek Mitchell, who wasn't 100% for Monday's game against Leeds. So he comes back into the equation here.
Yep. Interesting, because Palace have been playing quite well, I think. So, even though they're kind of this on the beach type side, particularly at home, they're looking good defensively, and Zaha looks a decent option, and they played really well against Leeds, I thought, and were unlucky not to win that. But Southampton are the complete opposite. They seem to be just going down. I know they drew against us, but 2 free kicks from Walker. I'm sure they're not going to get that every week.
From Ward Prowse. Yeah, I think. You wouldn't put any kind of prediction on this match, because it is two teams who you don't even know who's going to start for either side, never mind turn up on the day. But yeah, Palace, as you said there, Palace absolutely battered Leeds without scoring. So yeah, I'd fancy them for this.
Yep. Watford Burnley next. Now this is a big game. This is, Watford are probably done, right? But a win here, and you never know what could happen.
Yeah, it would make things slightly interesting rather than certainty that they're going down.
I'm trying to hype it, Neil. I'm trying to get excited. It's Watford versus Burnley. Come on, we've got to do something.
Now, yeah, it's not just crucial for Watford, but if Burnley win this, they're pretty much, they're not outside from Everton, but it'll knock Watford and Norwich down, and then they'll be. They could be 7 points clear of Everton. I'm trying to think how
they'll be level with Leeds on 34, assuming that Leeds are beaten by Man City.
So. Leeds and Everton have got City and Chelsea respectively this weekend. I know Chelsea's not given who's going to turn up, but yeah, Burnley could move 5 points clear of Everton. That is, if they win this one, and then Everton's got, I think, another Big Six game after that. Is it? Who they got? Oh, they got Leicester. That's probably not quite so bad. So. It would really put the pressure on Leicester. Yeah, the team news, I guess Burnley will be more interested than Watford. Watford, they put out a bulletin this morning saying that Kiko Firmino and Juraj Kuchka are back in training after a minor knocks last weekend, so they're fine, we assume. I think that just leaves Cucho Hernandez on the sidelines. Burnley, this was yesterday, the presser, and Mike Jackson's still in charge, done very well so far, can't argue with the results. They are still without me, Goodmanson, Westwood and Peters. Corney is going to be a late call. I'm sure this would have been a touch and go if Dyche was still in charge. He's got a knee problem. He hasn't trained, or he hadn't trained as of Thursday. He's been working with a physio, so that's never a good sign. And yeah, two other sort of minor problems. Aaron Lennon was only deemed fit enough for a bench duty last weekend, and Gio Rodriguez came off with, I think, a recurrent calf thing. And Jackson said he'd been given a resty on Tuesday, but had since returned to training on Thursday. So could be okay for this one. I mentioned Rodriguez because he's one of the cheaper forwards who has been getting game time. I think he's 5.2. Of course, Burnley's got a double coming up, so he's not without his followers.
We could say that Michael Jackson has turned a bad Burnley side into a bit of a thriller these last few games.
You could do. I mean, I'd stop short saying that because it's awful.
You got some self-respect. I do not. Excellent. Wolves versus Brighton. I'll tell you what. If there's any game that isn't going to be a thriller, it's going to be this one. Yeah, I mean, obviously we played well against Southampton, but conceded, we being Brighton, conceded those two free kick goals.
Yeah.
Wolves are just completely, their attacking stats are just so far down. Yeah. I can't see this being an exciting game. But what have we got? What's happening with Wolves?
Well, I think one of the reasons why Wolves have sort of tanked a bit recently is that Neves has been out. It was just so good for them. And Daniel Pedence as well, who's, if you saw this graphic on Twitter, his creativity stats are really, really good this season. So those are two big losses in terms of creating chances. Those two are still out, along with Kilman. It seems almost certain that Neves is out. Largas originally said that he was definitely out, and then slightly backtracked by saying it would be a tough ask or very unlikely. So I think he's 25% as a result of that, but all looking very unlikely for that trio. I don't think they've got anything fresh injury wise. Brighton, they should have Lamptey back. He's been back in training, and providing there's no reaction to his knee niggle, then he should be back for this one. They've got two players out, and that's Jakob Moda and Jeremy Sarmiento, who's got a hamstring problem. They've also got Basuma back from suspension as well, so that will be a big boost for them defensively, and would further my prediction that it's going to be a completely stinking golden straw.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against that for sure. One game that we wouldn't have backed as a goalless draw last season, but Marsh has tightened them up a little bit now. It's Leeds versus City. I don't think we're expecting too much from Leeds in this one. But there could be some rotation from City, and lots of people buying some of their assets now. Let's start with City. Yeah. What do we know about who they've got available?
Injuries-wise, they are without Stones and Walker, as they have been for a while. Of course, Stones came back in midweek in the Champions League, but then it lasted all of about half an hour, and then he was off again. So he's definitely out of this one. They're going to assess him for Wednesday's rematch in Madrid. Walker, Pep was a bit sketchy on details. In terms of when he's going to come back. Still media reports suggesting he might be out for the season, but it's a week-to-week uncertainty with him. So that would, of course, firm up Cancelo's place at right back if there was any doubt about that. So yeah, rotation is going to be an issue or a potential problem further forward. You've got people like Sterling, who was rested in midweek, Grealish as well, who Grealish probably wouldn't expect to play in the second leg. So if you follow the neat logic pattern that folk not involved in the UCL could play in the league, then you'd expect someone like Grealish and Sterling to come back in. It's not always that simple with Pep, as we've learned the hard way over the years. Things like momentum come into what you might want to give. So, for example, Gundogan a game if he's thinking of starting him in midweek. But yeah, we know who the players at risk are, and it's generally in the front three. The likes of Mahrez, Foden, and Jesus. Jesus especially, I think, because Jesus is a man in form up top, and as such, probably will be playing or perhaps be playing in the Champions League in midweek. So he might not start in the league now, despite his 4-goal heroics next week. We'll have the predictions up later on. I think I already did like a rough draft. I think the tally roughly with what Luke's thinking as well, and what the folk from Emma's scheme are thinking as well, but we all know where the risks are. You just sort of grin and bear it with City, knowing that there's probably a hole in 3 or 5 games remaining, and then maybe a bench in one of the other two. But
expecting De Bruyne to start though.
I've put him down as a start. I think he had a complete rest in the FA Cup semi, and then he was withdrawn fairly early on against Watford. Yes, he played 90 minutes in a week. He's been playing with, I think what Pep called disturbing niggles or something in his ankle.
Disturbing
Yeah,
niggles.
that might have been lost in translation. I wonder if he means some kind of like disturbance or something rather than disturbing. And his minutes will be managed. I think if City are cruising and 4-0 up or something on Leeds, I think he'll probably get taken off. I've stuck him down for a start, but there is obviously that risk with it being a turnaround. However, what you would say is that this is a Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday turnaround, unlike Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday turnaround. Unlike Liverpool, have got the tighter turnaround between games, so at least that is in City's favour this time.
Yep. They're playing Leeds. Any news from Leeds? Any news on Bamford?
Yeah, he's nearing a return. He's not quite there yet. He is back on the grass, and Jesse Marsh is hoping that he'll be, I think, in full training from next week, so we could see him in the closing stages. That's not good for Gelhardt and Greenwood, of course, but who's to say that Bamford won't re-injure himself straight away, as has happened.
Celebrating, he did it one week, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
that's
scored
right.
and
Yeah.
celebrated and went off.
Yeah, I think that was his sole contribution in about 8 months. So yeah, he's on the cusp of return. Won't be back for this one. They've also got Forshaw, Roberts, and Somerville out for the season. But I think that is it.
Yep, nice. We're just over halfway. If you're enjoying this video, please like the stream. Drop us a comment as well afterwards. If you're listening on the audio podcast, write us a review on the Scout podcast. Well, we haven't had many of those, so that'd be nice. But yeah, Neale, you appreciate all that, don't you? For all your hard work.
I really do. Yes. I really do. I do appreciate that. And thanks everyone for the nice messages over the season. It does mean a lot.
Oh, that's nice. Right, you've got your work cut out for the next one because next is Everton-Chelsea. Okay, Everton, we'll come to them in a second. Let's start with Chelsea because this is the big one for a lot of people. And this is going to be the big one between now and the end of the season because it was two quite poor performances, I thought, from Chelsea across the double. Obviously, I free-hitted and loaded up on their attacking assets and they all did terribly. But it's James and Alonso, right? That's where the investment seems to be going a lot, trying to predict when they're going to start. Any insight for us?
Well, we didn't even get a press conference from Thomas Tuchel. We got what we did get instead was embargoed quotes from last night, which are of limited use because you're not going to really get a chance to assess any fresh injuries. But he did discuss the previously injured players. So Barkley and Christensen have been ill. They'll be assessed. Still out are Chilwell, Kovacic, and Hudson-Odoi. So that's the team you sorted. There was perhaps a telling quote on, which everyone's probably seen by now, on Havertz and Werner about their physicality and about them maybe not being as sharp last night because of the amount of game time they've accrued. And then they were taken off, I think, with about 20 minutes to go. Pulisic and Lukaku came on. So yeah, those two, as a consequence, I think people are thinking the worst about those two, and I haven't done the team news prediction yet for Chelsea. It'll be one of my last ones, but I would fear for those two. I think with the game, less than 72 hours after the Man United game. What I would say is that they have got a week free coming up after this, so they do have a nice little gap. So it might not be so much rest and fatigue as not wanting to risk players for the upcoming FA Cup final, so they might not be sort of tired per se, but we know that muscular injuries can be more likely when people are overworked, when the minutes have been high. So he might take this game as a view to change one or two positions, maybe a handful. With the likes of, James is the other one as well because he started and played yesterday at wing back. If he'd been at centre half, then the prospects of him starting 2 games in 3 days are probably higher. We've been discussed this before about how his boss has been playing him there to aid his recovery from these muscular problems. But he was an all-action gung-ho wing back last night who somehow blanked in that match. He was brilliant. Hit the post, created a number of chances, and I do worry for his game time as well this weekend. I think because they have been careful about him since he's come back.
That is not what I wanted to hear, and I doubt it's what a lot of people wanted to hear. So
No, I know.
there goes all those likes on the stream, I reckon, based on that.
Well, frankly, I can't see the dislikes anymore. They've
Yeah,
disappeared now
that's
from
true.
YouTube.
You can see them internally, I think.
Oh, can you? Oh,
Yeah, I just don't check them.
plead
It's fine.
ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. How about Everton? They're at home, so they should put up a bit more of a fight.
Yeah, they've done all right, haven't they? Goodison since Lampard came in. They are without Godfrey, who could be out for the season. They're also without a number of pre-existing injuries like Patterson, Townsend, Van der Beek, and Gomez. Tom Davies as well. He's back in training, but not quite ready. However, they do have Calvert-Lewin back, who a bit like Bamford has been in and out of training. He's been out for 2 weeks with a quad injury, and he's back for this one. Yerry Mina's involved as well. He was just rested last weekend after his recent return. So I would certainly expect Mina to come back in, and then probably Calvert-Lewin maybe from the bench, as Lampard's been doing recently.
Yep. I don't think he's got a goal for Lampard, Calvert-Lewin, since he's been back.
I don't
He's
think
got three.
he had assist. Yeah, he got the assist against Newcastle, didn't he? But that was, I think,
He
that
did.
was, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's had 3 goals this season. They came in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, massive injury, and then it's been
Yeah.
been poor. Okay, Spurs Leicester next. This is an interesting one because obviously Spurs out of form at the moment, struggling to score goals. Leicester, well, you can talk about Leicester because Rodgers has hinted at more rotation.
Yeah, he says he's going to freshen things up in this one, which we've seen in recent weeks. We can be fairly confident about what he's going to do. So injury-wise, they've got I think it's just Ndidi and Bertrand out. Because even Castagne's being past fit. He came off last night he took a blow to the head, and I think his vision was affected. But he's had a scan on his eye, and he's fine. So he's been past fit. So it's just those two, Ndidi and Bertrand, and Jakubovic as well, which means that Rodgers has got a full squad to spread the minutes around, I guess.
Even Vardy's back.
Yeah, Vardy.
Yeah. Nope.
Because he had an hour last night, and that was his first start in months. So I think he'll be back amongst the substitutes. And then, I mean, you can take your pick as to how many he made. 8 changes against, was it Newcastle? When he really went wild with the rotation, and he's made several in between then as well. So we could see the entire back 4 change, for example. We could see Mendy will probably come back in midfield as well because he's ineligible for the Europa League. We could see Barnes was benched yesterday, so he could come in on the flank. They've got Soumaré back as well, who adds to the options in central midfield, so he can now finally think about resting either Dewsbury Hall or Tielemans. So yeah, a lot of uncertainty with the Leicester lineup, which adds to the appeal of Spurs players this weekend.
Yes, and there's one name who's definitely out of Spurs.
Yeah, Reguilon is out. He got a groin problem, so along with Doherty being out, you would think that makes the wing-back situation a lot easier to predict. But then again, we saw Davies move there late in last week's game. I think Sanchez came on a centre-half, and then Davies moved up the left flank. Emerson's been going forward for a while. So he's got Kulusevski coming playing there. You've got Lucas Moura. I think Bergwijn's played on both flanks as well. So on paper, it seems like Emerson and Sessegnon are now nailed for those wing-back positions, but both of them have all of the options, bar Doherty, have really disappointed since Conte's come in. And I think you've seen that in the last 2 game weeks where the lack of Doherty's really, really hurt them because the service from out wide is pretty poor. They haven't got much from the centre of the park either. So, I do fear a little bit for Spurs. I do think they will come good. There will be points, like the Norwich game, last game of the season. I'm sure there'll be points there, but they're not quite that swaggering attacking unit that they were over the last few months.
Yep. Okay, moving over to the other London sides, West Ham and Arsenal. We'll start with Arsenal because obviously Saka was one of the heroes of last game week. I free hitted him out. That was fun to watch, but he did limp off. Any news?
Yeah, he should be okay according to Arteta. He has been
very
convincing. Back in training.
Yeah,
I'm fully expecting him to be fine. He's been back in training this week. We've seen him in drills, and he looks absolutely fine. And in fact, later on in the press conference, Arteta was asked about who would take a penalty if they got one again this weekend, and he said, Bukayo will take one on tomorrow if we get one. So he's pretty much expecting to play as well.
Good.
So I don't have any concerns about that. I think injury wise, it's just Partey and Tierney. Tommy Asu's back. He was asked about his possibilities of a start as well. So he could feature. And I think they've got a fully fit squad other than those two.
Good. West Ham's an interesting one because obviously they were in Europe last night. I'm expecting mass rotation here again. They did it against Chelsea. Surely they're going to do it again.
Yeah, they did it a week earlier than I thought they would. I thought they would maybe. Moyes has generally resisted the urge to rotate. Obviously, a lot of the reason why was because he played a second string in Europe for the first half of the season. But even since the knockout rounds began, he's been playing the likes of Bowen and Antonio twice a week. Now went to the semis. He's obviously now firmly focused on the competition in Europe. So, last weekend we saw Antonio benched, Bowen as well, and the likes of Yarmolenko and Benrahma starting. And I think, you would think if logic follows that would happen again this weekend. They're down 3 centre-halves, definitely. So Dawson's suspended, Ogbonna and Diop are still out. Zuma made a very surprise return last night. We were not expecting that, but it didn't look fit. And I wonder whether he'll be preserved for Thursday again, even though he is now available for selection. They might think, well, we've only got 2 senior centre-halves for that Frankfurt game, so let's not risk it. So, we could see... we saw last weekend, we saw Cresswell and Johnson in a back three, makeshift centre-halves, and then Dawson was the middle one, but he's now suspended. So we could see one of the young guns come in. Baptiste an option. Is it Elise as well? AJ Elise, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but both of those players played, they're both centre-half, and they played against, I think it was Zagreb in the Europa League earlier this season. So they do have a little bit of senior experience. Moyes did say that he's unwilling to throw in too many academy products at the end of the season because he needed the senior players to be able to trust them. But that could be one position where he turns to youth just to protect Zuma for Thursday.
Which you'd think would be good news for the likes of Saka.
Yeah, but then again, look how well they did last weekend against Chelsea. Chelsea really struggled to carve them over.
Don't remind me, Neil. Still painful. Okay, the final game then, the Monday night game, and that is two sides in very different form. Brentford in great form at the moment. United, to put in your words, poop.
Yeah, I'm something of a linguist. So
expert analysis as always.
Yeah, I think that's a technical term. So I think we saw from our scout squad picks this week how many of us were keen on Brentford players. Ericsson and Bumo and Tony, I think all got mentioned, which just tells you the state of Man United at the moment. So not just out of form, but injury hit as well. Starting with Brentford because it's easier. They are without Pinnock, Canos, Zanka, Onyeka, and Godos, but they will have Norgard and Ajer back. Man United, so they were in action last night, and then Ranić faced the press immediately after that game. We've just got some quotes released from Embargo this afternoon from that. So definitely out are Pogba and Shaw, who are possibly season-ending injuries. Cavani and Fred are back in training. Cavani was due back today. Fred's got the best chance of featuring. Cavani's probably substituted best, according to Ranić. Sancho could be off this season as well with tonsillitis. It's extremely unlikely he plays on this one, and he could not even feature between now and 38. Wan-Bissaka missed out last week for a reason we're not aware of. It wasn't specified what that issue was, but he missed out, and he could miss out again. Lingard was out for personal reasons, and Maguire was out for, I think it was a knee, a niggle. And Ranić would only say that he hopes to get 2 or 3 of those back for Monday. So there's a lot of uncertainty with United. And this is their final home game as well, I believe, of the season, because that Chelsea game got shifted. So there was questions about whether the likes of Mata and Matic might get farewell sentimental send-off. So this being likely their last game in Manchester for United. And to be fair, Mata was like head and shoulders above.
He was
any other player who United had last night, apart from Ronaldo. So I wouldn't be the maddest thing in the world to see him start, because Elanga and Rashford were terrible, and Sancho was out. So I think Mata came on, I think, and played on the right for when Rashford came off. So not beyond the realms of possibility that he starts this one.
Wow. I mean, United, given the way they're playing, a blank in 37.
Yeah.
These injuries, it's probably the time to jump off, I would have thought. That's it, I think. That's all 20
I believe
teams.
so. Yeah,
Anything
I
I've
believe so.
missed?
I don't think so.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you, Neale, as always. We'll be back next week. Not many of these left to go now.
No, we'll have one providing you're well enough for each of the next 3 games. I think the last 2 are Sunday deadlines, so we'll see what happens there with Sunday deadlines, which means Sunday all the games are on Sunday. So we'll see if there's any press conferences on the Saturdays. I don't think there will be, which might necessitate some kind of different team news around it. But for now, yeah,
yep,
we'll leave it as it is.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching and listening. As I said, make sure you like the stream, drop us a comment as well. But we'll see you next week.